The Top 10, Jerome K Jerome, an introduction. Short stories have always been a sort of instant access into an author's brain, their soul and heart. A few pages can lift our lives into locations, people and experiences with a sweep of landscape, narration, feelings and emotions that are difficult to achieve elsewhere. In this series, we try to offer up tried and trusted top tens across many different themes and authors. But any anthology will immediately throw up the questions, why that story? Why that author? The theme itself will form the boundaries for our stories, which range from well-known classics, newly told, to stories that modern times have overlooked, but perfectly exemplify the theme. Throughout the volume, our authors, whether of instant recognition or new to you, are all leviathans of literature. Some you may disagree with, but they will get you thinking about our choices and about those you would have made. If this volume takes you on a path to discover more of these miniature masterpieces, then we will have all gained something. Invariably Jerome is most often remembered for his light-hearted and humorous works, such as Three Men in a Boat. Here we have a number of his beautifully lyrical short stories, and some from his forgotten and rather darker side.
Told After Supper by Jerome K Jerome. The Doctor's Story. It made me cry very much, that story. Young Biffles told it with so much feeling. We were all a little thoughtful after it, and I noticed even the old doctor covertly wipe away a tear. Uncle John brewed another bowl of punch, however, and we gradually grew more resigned. The doctor, indeed, after a while became almost cheerful, and told us about the ghost of one of his patients. I cannot give you his story. I wish I could. They all said afterwards that it was the best of the lot, the most ghastly and terrible, but I couldn't make any sense of it myself. It seemed so incomplete. He began all right, and then something seemed to happen, and then he was finishing it. I can't make out what he did with the middle of the story. It ended up, I know how, with somebody finding something, and that put Mr. Coombs in mind of a very curious affair that took place at an old mill once kept by his brother-in-law. Mr. Coombs said he would tell us his story, and before anybody could stop him, he'd begun. Mr. Coombs said the story was called The Haunted Mill, or The Ruined Home. Well, you all know my brother-in-law, Mr. Parkins, began Mr. Coombs, taking the long clay pipe from his mouth and putting it behind his ear. We didn't know his brother-in-law, but we said we did so as to save time. And you know, of course, that he once took a lease of an old mill in Surrey and went to live there. Now, you must know that years ago this very mill had been occupied by a wicked old miser who died there, leaving, so it was rumoured, all his money hidden somewhere about the place. Naturally enough, everyone who had since come to live at the mill had tried to find the treasure, but none had ever succeeded, and the local wiseacres said that nobody ever would unless the ghost of the miserly miller should one day take a fancy to one of the tenants and disclose to him the secret of the hiding-place. My brother-in-law didn't attach much importance to the story, regarding it as an old woman's tale, and unlike his predecessors made no attempt whatever to discover the hidden gold. Unless business was very different then from what it is now, said my brother-in-law, I don't see how a miller could very well have saved anything, however much of a miser he might have been. At all events, not enough to make it worth the trouble of looking for it. Still, he couldn't altogether get rid of the idea of that treasure. One night he went to bed. There was nothing very extraordinary about that, I admit. He often did go to bed of a night. What was remarkable, however, was that exactly as the clock of the village church chimed the last stroke of 12, my brother-in-law woke up with a start and felt himself quite unable to go to sleep again. Joe, his Christian name was Joe, sat up in bed and looked round.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?